So, reviewing now a lot later, I mean a year or so later, 1410, 1410, 1410. What's the pattern here? I start off in the world with a problem at the beginning of the recording. You know, suggestion there's subconscious and there's superconscious, and which is what and how relevant, and you're apparently, you know, you haven't got mastery of it. You just know, well, I'm not sure about this, and you know, is there a lesson to be learned here? What's the advice? You know, in this case, what's the way of seeing it that I'm looking at? And it doesn't, but you keep at it. I mean, I don't know how long this recording was, a long one. And at some point in the application, you start to find your way. You come in from a different angle. You think of the greater pattern of your actual spiritual experience of life, what it's preoccupied you with so often, and you start to apply that to the situation, and it's God's rescue, isn't it? Because you have stayed with it, you have tuned into, finally, guidance, leading. Because you didn't feel you had it, you weren't sure, you were, well, this seems the right answer, you know, to rely on one's experience, until you start to realize, hang on, I'm shifting my experience, sifting it, not just shifting it. The shorter term, the more recent, what do I, and you know, what do I fear? Fear is not usually something that's, well, it helps in keeping the body safe and so on, but in terms of what I value most, oh goodness, then you start to think, well, what I value most is my hopes, my dreams, in the, you know, desire, ideal sense of the loveliness of God, and what I truly value, which is the personification of what I truly value. And I need to bring it back to that perspective. And I start being receptive to things other than fear. I'm now also receptive to where I wish to go, which is not just the avoidance of harm, but the pursuit of life eternal, goodness, harmony, peace, blessing, loving kindness, goodness, trust, the awesomeness of the possibility of God. That this is what's really a value and treasure to me. And the other is, I'm tempted to say trash. It's a sort of small-minded preoccupation that's dominated by transitory pleasures and fears. Whereas I need the overarching devotion to give me the deeply satisfying answer. And that can look quite risky from the point of view of hopes and fears, pleasures and so on, of the transitory living. It's not that I put living as of no account, discount it so that I treat it trivially and squander. I'm treating living as of value in that it affords the noble purpose which gives my whole life meaning and joy and foundational happiness and meaning. Yeah, there you are, that's what I mean, isn't it? So when I say I'm trusting in God, I'm trusting in these noble values. I might be going to give something of cash. And I'm saying, well, yes, obviously I could use this to my own pleasure, but I actually value this more. Helping this person here. I want to meet their need. I'm aware of how important it is to them, and I want to come to their rescue. And I'm going to. And yes, it will cost me. Let's not be unreasonable. There's no point in me sacrificing my life so that they have another cup of tea. Let's not be nonsense. But I am recognizing that what I truly value is important to me. And I'm willing to spend the transitory to some extent on that. I can't spend all the transitory, give away all my food and wealth, and therefore tomorrow morning I'm in panic and I'm no good to anybody. That's not wise. Or so unhappy tomorrow that I just can't cope and I'm all miserable. That's not what's required. But I do have a surplus to my reasonable, foreseeable needs. If I do have, then I can give of that. Of course, if I'm preoccupied totally with my own future needs, then, well, I suppose that's what my values are. And I must find out if it's living accordingly is satisfactory to me. And it's not. I need to shift into the godly far more than that, the selfless, or if you like, the greater self. So living is the expansion of myself into the greater self, in as far as I am able. And if I go further than I'm able, then you start to get all sorts of stress signs. Panic, concern, unhappiness, immediate deprivations perhaps. And you think, hang on, I'm not sure if I'm on the right track here. We are given a priority of life. Our survival turns around, in large measure, our survival turns around putting survival first. But not centering around putting our narrow affluence and fun-loving first, in that sense. My happiness lies in having a caucus of harmony around me that is, I was going to say able to benefit me back, but I don't think I really mean that. I mean, just is a harmony around me, helped and blessed. I feel happier to know they are helped and blessed. So these are my values that I want to come into the decision-making mix. It's not that I want to be extreme. I just want to be more in the direction of my God. What I truly value is bearing upon, competing with transitory fears of lack of welfare in the future. I'm simply giving some more weight to my values, because they seem to bring in some sense a greater loveliness in my life than just focusing on, for argument's sake, physical needs and wants and desires. You know, I can live at a high level of material consumption or a low level. But in some ways I can be much happier on lower levels if I'm also achieving my meaning in life. Now, if you're not happy on those lower levels, despite searching ardently for your meaning in life, then you may be overdoing it. You've not got a good equilibrium for you. And you're actually becoming miserable and unloving and surprisingly not achieving the very noble purpose that's causing your deprivation. You're not here to deprive yourself to the extent that, obviously, you achieve, because of the backlash of such, less as regards your meaning to life than you would otherwise do. So your meaning to life unquestionably includes much weight to your survival. Not a complete disregard for what we would call self. Transitory things such as relaxation, time spent just enjoying certain things that give you a happy disposition, that help you in your pursuit of your great meaning to life. In other words, it's unlikely that your great meaning to life is really optimized by self-annihilation. It's probably helped for most of us by an increase in self that embraces more of other people and more of what our true values are as we see it. But that doesn't mean to say that we reduce the resources going to, if you like, our personal direct needs to zero. You know, if I starve myself out of existence, I don't seem to achieve my long-term goals and meaning. Now, true, we're in a world where things are relative, so that, you know, if I'm, for argument's sake, the king, and I've got, you know, the great wealthy person, I could halve my wealth and not lose too much transitory pleasures, quite honestly, and achieve with that half of the wealth all sorts of good things as regards my meaning to life, what I truly value, other than my survival, of course. Now, I'd still be, for argument's sake, still terribly rich compared to most people. Do you see? I might go down to the level of most people, but I would be wretched now by comparison to what I was used to. Perhaps, not necessarily, but perhaps. And that might destroy my wherewithal to achieve my long-term goal in spiritual life. You know, I might become a very bitter person, that I've forgone all these things and perhaps not achieved my spiritual goal very much. I might have overshot, do you see? So I am saying, yes, there is a relativity, certainly in the shorter run. In the longer run, I suspect that enormous changes can take place. And the relativity is, well, shall we say, less pressing. Especially if you feel your true values, your true meaning to life is being met. So I'm not preaching a recklessness of superconscious overruling everything of the subconscious. And I think it was possibly a secular world that's produced this mode of analysis of levels of consciousness. Let's get back for a moment just to review. Is it better to think of it in terms of, you know, more successful, more useful, to think of it in the more classical terms of what's right to do, what's best, truly, compared to what my immediate needs are? Now, in the long run, there's always all sorts of fears, and I can always have a bigger bank account to, in some sense, ensure or guard against too much deprivation in such circumstances. But what is too much to me now would not be too much to me then if I've adjusted slowly down to it. Well, in that case, the optimal may be to adjust not in one massive swoop that gave away all he had and became a pauper walking the banks of the Ganges. It might be best to walk the banks of the Ganges, but keep the ownership of a house somewhere with enough land to give you an occupation if you need it. That may leave you with tremendous surplus. Good. You can use that to your great purpose, noble purpose, what you truly value. Wonderful. Perhaps you don't have this opportunity. Perhaps the level you're at is pretty desperate in terms of material needs and wants, and your ability to meet them. Okay, what do you have a surplus in? Well, you may be unemployed, you may have a surplus of time. so you can help other people. Be a great blessing to them, as opposed to desperately trying to steal or work for. Do you see, you'll have a surplus of something. Your surplus might even be in the time of now. You can give a good response. You can be helpful. You can be a blessing. I can't give you money because I've only just got less than enough to eat. But I can give you friendship. I can help you in some way. And that gives me meaning to life. It's my higher self coming in. And of course, if you are this sort of person, that is a true blessing to life around you. Life around you wants your presence. Brings blessing to you accordingly. And you're pulling your way out of the mire, aren't you? So I'm not advocating that you do the extreme. If you're a billionaire, well, perhaps you could manage to live happily on just 5 billion, not the 35 you've got. Okay, come down to it gently. Just give away 5 billion. And come down to 30. Are you happier or less happy? I'm happier. Perhaps you could give away a little more. Do you see? My goodness, you're on track. And you're probably flying spiritually. Now don't get too heady. Don't accelerate. You're giving away. Just keep a level head. Do you see? I want you to be happy and blessed. And you will find that by being a blessing. Not recklessly, just a kind blessing. Kindness is not an extravagance. It's just a kindness. You'll get there. Trust me. I am with you. I'm with you, says the Lord. Your dad. No need to be reckless. I've taught you to be very rational and loving. That's what I want my children to be. Bless you. Thank you, Dad.